Hey, gang, Carl White here, broadcasting actually in the communications room here in the secret headquarters of the Mortgage Marketing Animals. And you're listening to Loan Officer Freedom, number one podcast in the world today for loan officers. And all because you knew that someday Miss Colleen Wood herself would be here. Miss Colleen, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
You are way better than good, by the way. You're way better
Mhm.
than good. You're freaking
Yeah,
fantastic.
thank you.
So, Colleen, tell everybody where you are. What's your location up there in the Great White North?
Well, today I'm working from home. Had too much going on this morning to try to get to the office too. So, working from home, I'm in Red Lodge, Montana, which is just north of Yellowstone Park.
Beautiful place, by the way. You were kind
Mhm.
enough to invite me and a couple of my buddies come visit you and the handsome Mr. Wood and your
Mhm.
awesome son and spend a couple of days up there. It's a beautiful location. But things
Yeah.
have changed since we've been up there. And that's what we're going to do this episode on. So, we're going to do this episode on starting your own mortgage business.
Mhm.
And so, you were with a fine retail branch
Yep.
and just recently opened up your own gig. So, I thought we'd talk about that for a few minutes. Good topic.
Great topic. Great topic. Yeah.
So, running a very successful retail branch.
Mhm.
And describe what that looked like. Like it's you and how many, like, do you have other loan officers? You're the only person, any assistants or anything? What's kind of the layout there?
Just with the compression that we saw, in the last year in mortgage, I really whittled my group down to the bare essentials, and I know a lot of us did. So just me and my phenomenal operations manager, and then a little gal that answered our phone and did some social media. That's where I was able to whittle it down to. So that's where we were at, and that's what it looks like now.
And now, do you have a processor? Like
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it, and does that processor work for you, or is it a
Mhm.
contract processor that works with other loan officers, or what does that look like?
No, Angel is my employee. She when we were at the retail side of it, she worked just on my production. Um, I've never had to share her, thank goodness. But yeah, I've always had my own processor, and we call her operations manager because she manages all things operations on that side of it. Mhm.
Now, so you recently again switched from branch manager at a big retail shop, right? We're not
Mhm.
going to name the name, but
Right.
a fine company and a good sized company,
Mhm.
and just went to becoming a broker and you owning the brokerage.
Mhm.
You know, the first thing that comes to my mind, frankly, is a little bit of chest pain. I get a little anxiety as I'm
Mhm.
thinking about that. First,
Mhm.
had you ever done that before? Like, did you come from the broker world before you were in retail?
So I had never been a broker and run my own shop before ever, but I worked for a broker. I knew what it looked like. I knew kind of, I mean, the ins and outs, how everything kind of worked. But it's been 8 years since I was a part of a broker shop. So I mean, I had some knowledge, but not from the owner side of it at all.
So how is that? So like, I mean, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it, and if so, say so. So here you are, you're clocking in at your same location, but you're
Right.
clocking in, and somebody else is running most of the stuff and
Hmm.
you're primarily salesperson, right?
Hmm. Right.
And so now you're the HR department, you're the payroll department,
Hmm.
you're the who do I send my loan to department.
Yeah.
You're instead of a relationship with one underwriter or one underwriting team, now it's five, six, seven, eight different teams, and
Hmm.
it's and I'm asking like 15 questions at once, and we're going to break it
Yeah.
down. These are just all the things running through my head.
Yeah.
And then you get a loan in, you go, oh, I submit it to this person always, and it's done. And
Right.
now we've got eight different companies, a lot moving parts. You're wearing a lot of the hats.
Hmm.
Um, what's that like? Like going from being able to focus on nothing but sales till now it's kind of like just the thought of it, at least initially, as you're ramping up, it seems a little overwhelming to me. Like, how do you all of a sudden put on all those hats?
Well, number one, we've had some phenomenal leaders go in front of us, right? Tammy Saul is a broker, Tony Taylor is a broker, Brady Webb's a broker. And, I had some really great guidance from those folks that say you can do it. It doesn't overwhelm me because I'm kind of I like to understand what's going on. I like to know what's going on. I don't like to be in the dark. Um, I don't feel like HR for a small team or payroll is overwhelming. It takes a very small amount of time out of my out of my day. I get to control how much people get paid. I don't have to ask permission from anybody when it comes to which company am I going to send my loans to. I mean, I'm getting to develop great relationships with account executives that are bending over backwards to help us get our loans into their system. And I didn't have that at a retail shop. I mean, I at one point we had, what was called a pod leader, but that went away. So we were kind of on our own anyways. And, working with different underwriters, yeah, but there's some negative things about working with the same underwriters all the time anyways. I mean, some if you're stuck with the same underwriters all the time, sometimes you're stuck with the same problems. So, I think it's really trusting into the system. That these account executives and these companies that are they're taking our loans, they want our business. They want it very badly, and they will do everything that they can to help us close that business. And that's been the experience that I've had. And honestly, I was really thinking about what to present to you today. And it really is connecting with the right people to help you accomplish the task. It's the same thing we've always talked about. It's building the team. I didn't create a payroll system. I didn't, figure out how to get licensed in my states. I didn't figure out even which investors to connect with. I reached out to the people that I know and said, who do I need to know? How do I get help? And then connected with those people. And even if I had to write some small checks in order to get that stuff, I needed somebody to help me set up my payroll system and help me get set up for, workman's comp and all those things. I had a team of people to help me do that so I could keep writing loans. So I think it's very, very doable. You just have to have the right people around you.
Now,
Same.
when you say the right people, are you talking about like the Freedom Club members that you deal with, or is there a group of brokers where you guys kind of hang out together, or something like that, or a
I
little bit of
got
both?
guidance. I got guidance just right initially when the idea was rolling through my head. Been talking to some of these folks for years. I mean, Tammy Saul told me over a year ago, you got to go broker. You got to go broker. And so the wheels have been turning in my head. And then when I wanted to, get things in motion, I contacted Tony Taylor. And she gave me a list of people. These are the people that you need to contact. This is the guy that's going to help you with your licensing. This is the people that are going to help you with compliance. I connected with my CPA. He got me all set up for payroll, having employees. How do you get all that set up? I contacted my insurance gal about workman's comp insurance. So those types of people, those teams of people where I said, this is what I want. And they did it and they brought me back a product. And, creating a 401k plan, that was a connection through my accountant. And he connected me with some great people and we scheduled meetings. And I said, this is what I want to do. What are my next steps? And I mean, they did it. They did it. I just wrote a check.
Mm. So really not much different than what you were doing before. So I'm, we could have almost done this as a point counterpoint thing. Cause I don't own, I work for a retail shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess in essence, I hire out the HR and the compliance and all that other stuff because I mean, it's no secret you're getting you get you're part of your BIPs that you're getting is paying for these other services. And
Yes.
on my end, part of the BIPs that I would get
Hmm.
is paying for these services. And
Right.
so I'm paying it pre-BIP, you're paying it post-BIP, but it's
Hmm.
probably very similar to each other. And probably the cost is pretty similar too.
Hmm.
How do you like let me tell you where broker really I never really I did well at it. Don't get me wrong, I did well, but I didn't really what I would say nowhere near the size that we are today. And the problem that I had more than anything else was is having it on my calendar of when do I put on my sales hat versus putting on my business owner hat.
Hmm.
How do you handle that? So do you block time off on your calendar, or does it just have its natural progression of in the mornings I tend to do the sales, in the afternoon I tend to work on the business, or vice versa? Like how do you separate running the company versus making sure its number one salesperson, right, which is
Hmm.
you, is out doing her job versus making sure the photocopier is working, so to speak.
Well, actually, my schedule looks exactly the same as it did before.
Mm,
I work off of a very strict time blocked calendar. I do all of my sales stuff in the morning, and then I do all of my consultations in the afternoon. My calendar is blocked exactly the same. But I always have block off the 8 to 9 spot on my calendar. When I worked for a retail company, I did that. I used that time for, whether it was having an HR meeting. Because I mean, even as a branch manager, you're having HR meetings, you're mediating, you're dealing with problems, you're helping with people that can't figure out whatever it is on their computer, or there's things to manage, especially like for us, being in Montana. There's no one here to help us. We have to figure it out ourselves. And I try really hard not to be the head of IT because I'm terrible at it. But there were times that, I needed to do those things. So I plug in blocks of time into my schedule for problem solving. I put payroll on my calendar twice a month. And just at that point, I mean, my calendar is non-negotiable. When I have something show up on my calendar,
mhm,
that's what I do. It's my checklist. It's my to-do list for the day. So that's how I know I get everything done. So
mm,
I do all the things, and I don't just run around willy-nilly trying to do whatever it is it's called on me. I just put on my calendar so that it all gets done.
mm. Hmm. So when you made the move, did you make did you send out an announcement to your database, an announcement to the real estate agents, or did you just kind of make the move and business as usual, everything's good, nothing to see here, keep moving on? Like, was there any kind of an announcement of sort, or did you just kind of let it, when somebody asks, oh yeah, I did, and here's how I can help you even better now, kind of thing? Like, what that look like?
Well, there's number one, there's a little bit of some groundwork that has to be laid. And I have always in my business always protected my brand.
Hmm.
My brand has always been the Wood team. That's us. um, I've always protected my brand, my database, my phone number, and my website. Those things they're non-negotiables for me. um, I own all of them and always have. And I'm a
Yeah.
huge believer in that, because you never know. And great companies, sometimes there's an even greater company, and those are the lifeblood of a loan officer. So I sent out an announcement that was just, hey, we've gone out on our own, and it's still the same great people, same phone number, same website. The only thing that's changed is my email. This is my new email. Just update your emails. And you can actually have that set up so ahead of time, so you could have your own domain, so that you wouldn't even have to have dealt with that. But
Yeah.
I just sent out an announcement, say, hey, we're so excited to announce that we'll be serving you locally we're locally owned now. We're going to have more options, more products. We're in charge of it. We're not working for a company anymore. But honestly, the consumer and the realtors don't really associate who you are with whatever company you're plugged into.
Yeah.
Like every single person, in fact, most people in my database thought that I owned the company before. And so I just decided I'm not going to rep somebody else's company name anymore. And we just became the Wood Team Home Mortgage. I mean, it was just a very easy transition. So I do think that there's some preparation ahead of it. If you always are associating your brand as, this is the brand, this is the retail company name, and you just work for them, it's really going to be hard for you to go out on your own because you're kind of a no name at that point. If you work for a retail company and you market like, this is me, this is my team, powered by whoever, then it's a little bit easier to transition. It's just change who you're powered by. And it was pretty simple. Every message that I got was positive and supportive, and just really excited for us to move forward. It was great.
I figured out long ago, at least for me anyway, and it sounds like you're the same. Nobody cares who you work, like who the mother company is or who the father
No.
company is. Like in my case, I would say percentage wise, very few people know what mortgage company I'm with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if my favorite real estate agent switched over from, I don't know, whatever, Keller Williams and went to Remax,
Right.
hell, what do
You
I
don't
care?
care. No.
I don't care.
No, you don't
Because
care.
I'm doing business with Colleen, not
Mm-hmm.
Remax, at least in my
Right.
head, kind of
Right.
thing. And so I've always thought nobody really cares. It doesn't really matter, other than I think, which is kind of basically what you did, is like, hey, here's the new email address, just FYI, because if it's
Mm-hmm.
sent to the old email address, you don't get it, right? Or the day you change your license, right? Yeah, you don't get
Typically.
it,
Yep.
and so that could be a problem. Hey, so what would you say has been your biggest here? So this all just happened like in the last
3 months.
what 3 months. So I always call it the fish hook, where, and I know you know what the fish hook is, but for people listening, it's where you ramp up and then something happens and you change something that's going to help you ramp up even more, or hope, that's the plan for it to ramp up even more. But as soon as you make that change, whatever it is, you're a new marketing, you hire a new employee, a new
Mm-hmm.
salesperson, whatever, hire another loan officer, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that there's a little bit of a down hook at first because you're focused not just on selling your own, on getting this thing set up at some level. How much of a fish hook did you have? Like how much of a, if any, how much of a downturn did you have? How long did it last? And what was let me ask that first. So was there any kind of a down hook in the business for that short period of time?
Um, I knew you were going to ask this. So we never stopped writing loans. And I think that that's one I think that's the biggest thing that people are fearful of. I certainly was that, because I never wanted there to be a day that came that I had to tell somebody that they needed to call someone else because I wasn't able to help them.
Okay.
That day never came. Um, I had worked with a gentleman who helped me with my licensing, and from the moment that we submitted it, granted this is Montana, it was only 2 hours later that I had a broker license, and this happened on a Friday. We had done a little bit of legwork ahead of time. I knew what loan operating system I was going to work with, what point of sale system I was going to work with. We had done some demos, so we knew which ones we were going with, and we had set up the following Monday. We were off and running the following Monday. Granted, terribly clunky, terribly uncomfortable, panicking because we didn't know how to pull credit, like all the things. I mean, but I would say the first 2 weeks for me I was just in reaction mode of whoever called in. I had to figure out how to serve them. I had to learn the system. Um, we couldn't pull credit for a full week. Like that was, but there was an investor that allowed us to pull credit through their system. So we were able to do that. So I would say the first 2 weeks is a little painful,
Yeah.
just because you don't have a system, you don't have a flow, you can't sell the way that you're used to selling. Um, I always hate that awkward silence when you're on the phone with a client and you just feel like a total idiot. Um, but you got to get through it, and you got to get through the hard part in order to get to the good. And we had to figure out what the problems were. So I would say 2 solid weeks of suck. And then on the other side of it, you're going to make it through it. But know that is on the sales side that you're going to have that solid 2 weeks, and then that's going to flow downhill to your operations, to your processing, and they're going to have 2 to 3 solid weeks of just very clunky, uncomfortable
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
I know when I switched over, like in my case, it was mainly me and Diane. I know, my
mhm,
Diane. We've been together, I don't know, 22 years, 23 years, something like that, long time. But she learned all the new stuff, and
mhm.
I focused on the selling.
Yep, yep.
And the best, it's been a while, but the best I remembered, we didn't have too much of a downturn either. What was your biggest challenge? And this could be either specifically going retail to broker or just changing companies, whether it's broker to broker or retail to retail. What's been the number one challenge?
Um, I think the number one challenge was just changing my loan operating system. I've been in Encompass for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, we're really, really reliant on that, and we all have our own sales process of how we sell a loan. And that was the most difficult part for me, as just finding my new flow and finding like how it is that we do things. Um, the other part is just, I think it was frustrating for me once I finally did get into it, and I was, now I'm eyeballs deep, and but I can actually see the other side of it.
Yeah.
Was just frustration with myself that I took so long to do it.
Mm,
And I wish that I would have done it a year ago, year and a half ago. But I was just so, as you can imagine, just scared to pieces that I was going to destroy my business by messing it up, and it was going to take 6 months for me to get my feet underneath me, because there's all sorts of horror stories out there about it. I think that was the hardest part. The financial part was not terrible at all. Um, we didn't go into debt for it. We just self-funded it, and it wasn't terrible at all. So I think if you want it, you should go do it.
yeah, I know. What's that old saying? If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think
Mhm,
that's what sometimes holds us back. And in your case, we're not going to go into any kind of details here. There was a
no,
little hiccup in the old company, and
mhm,
so it was like, okay, now it's broke. Now I
mhm.
gotta fix it. I think
Yeah,
was kind of the thing. And it seems like most things in life, Colleen, that when something happens, and I'm using air quotes here, to us,
mhm.
that it might be actually happening for
For us.
us.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I think that's a little bit what you're seeing here.
Mhm.
Um,
Sometimes you gotta get
anything now
shoved
that
out of
you're
it
you're
now.
you're 3 months into it, anything you wish you would have known? Like if somebody's getting ready to switch companies or go broker to retail or retail to broker, anything that you'd recommend? Like one thing, man, I thought I had everything covered, but boy, this one thing ended up catching me blindsided, or took me longer than I thought, or was easier than I thought.
Um, I didn't really have anything that blindsided me because I feel like I was pretty well prepared. Um,
Mhm.
I think the way that I got prepared was I used your method of, because sitting there and thinking about it, of all the things I had to do, was super overwhelming. And so I just sat there for about a half an hour and I did a brain dump of of everything I knew that I needed to do. And then I went through all my emails of all the things that people were telling me I needed to do. And I made a list of everything that had to happen before I got my license, after I got my license, and then what could wait a couple of weeks, and just went through that checklist and just old legal pad, just started crossing things out. I think that's the only way that, to me, that you can deal with something that feels so big as starting your own company and getting the ball rolling. Is you got to just attack one piece at a time. Like, what is most important to attack today? And that's what I did. That's my best advice. Don't try to create a payroll system. Plug into something great. Use the help for the people that you know. Great accountants, great insurance people. There are people out there that are really great at licensing. There's some really great systems out there, like Loan Sifter. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but Loan Sifter is really, really great, where it's like your Optimal Blue, but it takes all the investors, the wholesale investors, and you plug in your scenario into Loan Sifter, and it sifts through everybody's rates. So number one, you kind of know what investors are kind of pricing best, and what consistently keeps coming up. But you don't have to do it the old way, where you go into everybody's system and price everything separately and have to update all these different systems in order to just get pricing. There's really cool systems out there that are worth the time and money. So doing your upfront research is really, really important.
Yeah.
Being prepared, have a plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So what's next? As we're recording this, it's heading toward the end of December, Christmas time here. So we're starting the year nice and fresh.
Hmm.
Um, what's what's next?
Well, Carl, you and I were talking a little bit offline, in that opening a broker shop was supposed to be like my last stage of my business plan that I wanted to do. I mean, truthfully, my biggest goal is, like, I want to run a great business, but I don't want the business to run me.
Mm,
The reason why I do this is to pay for the life that I really want, which is, I want to be a great wife and a great mother and a great sister and a great friend, and who does mortgages, not a mortgage broker who is a really crappy wife, mother, friend.
mm,
Like, to me, the role has reversed a little bit, or the priorities have reversed a little bit, where I want this business to support what it is that's most important. And for us, it's our ranch, it's our family, it's our lifestyle, it's our spending time together. My son is 15. He's going to be leaving soon. I won't miss that for all the world. And I did the big fancy loan officer thing and did all the fancy marketing. And right now, the most important part to me is being present at home, and um, helping my son with a ranch and expanding that, and running a business that makes sense for my lifestyle. So
yeah.
that's what's
Yeah.
most important to me.
That boy, I that well said. And I've learned that we can have both those things. We can have very successful business.
Hmm.
Frankly, I think it's easier to have a very successful business and time at home,
Hmm.
because when the time at home, even if I'm out, like in your case,
Hmm.
working on the ranch,
Hmm.
that's a special way of recharging your batteries.
Hmm.
And so when we show up to work, we're even more rigorous. You have one of my favorite stories of all time, um, which I remember when we first met. I asked you a question, like where you at a year from today that you're happy with your progress, and you gave one of the most touching and most honest answers I think I've ever heard. Is that at the time your awesome husband, who's just a nicest guy ever,
Hmm.
was working in the mines.
Hmm.
I can't remember what he's mining, but it's in a mine,
Hmm.
deep in the ground, and
Hmm.
working in a very under the best of situations. It's just dangerous job. I mean, it just
Yeah.
is what it is. Just
Yeah.
a fighter pilot. It's dangerous, right? It just
Yeah.
is.
Hmm.
And you said, you just want to create enough of a business that you can get your man out of the coal mine or out of the mines.
Yeah.
And gosh, it wasn't too long after that.
Hmm.
I remember you called me up and said, "Hey, he put in his notice, and I got my man out of the mine."
Yeah.
And just a wonderful story, just a touching
Thank
story.
you.
So yeah,
February
I can't.
2020. Hmm.
There's been few journeys I've enjoyed watching as much. Certainly none more than yours, Colleen. And I'm just excited to watch where this next chapter is going. And you got a long runway in front of you. You've
Hmm.
accomplished a lot in from my side of the fence, the short years that you've been doing this. I know you've been doing it
Hmm.
for a while, but I've been around the sun a few more times than you, and it
Hmm.
and understanding that you've got a pretty good runway. I can't wait to see this next chapter and what this is going to evolve into. Anything I should have asked you as we kind of wrap this up? Anything I should have asked you today that I didn't?
Um, I think one question that people that are thinking about brokering are thinking about is or asking is what systems are you using for what are your vital pieces. I love Lending Pad for my loan operating system. I love Pre-Approve Me. We all love for your point of sale. I think Loan Sifter, Comergence, um, all of those products, and then obviously QuickBooks. Um, those have been my lifesaver systems that have been incredible for me. So no plug for any of them. Those are the ones I'm using, and I'm really enjoying them.
There's nothing wrong with plugging good people. So
Yeah,
good for
yeah.
you. Hey, one last question. Um, what was the thought process behind doing your own shop versus joining somebody that was so it sounds like in your case it wasn't just to become quote a broker, it was to
Mhm.
have your own shop, and this was the path of least resistance and a great way to go. But is that really the thought process that you just wanted your own shop kind of thing versus somebody else's?
You know, it's I think it's been a rough year and a half for mortgage companies in general. I don't know that any mortgage company has it all figured out
Mm.
when it comes to how to keep everyone paid, how to keep everything, rates competitive. And as great, there's some really great companies out there, and I interviewed with several of them. I just felt like I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know I never want to be blindsided. I am I have to produce in my life. There is not a backup plan. Like I cannot lose my job or get laid off or lose a company and go and recreate this income on my next best skill, which would be bartending. So I can't do that. So I can't gamble with my career if I don't know I've got to know all the
Mm.
details. I've got to be able to see it coming, so I can make a contingency plan. I don't ever want to be surprised. We've got a place to pay for. Um, it's got a big payment on it, and I have to make a certain amount of money every single month. So I just said, I want to know all the details. I want to be fully in control. I want to be able to see what's coming to me and never be blindsided again. And so that's the why behind it. I don't want to. I'm not a very good employee. I don't want to work for anybody anymore. So I want to just work for myself. And that's the why. That's the why behind it.
Yeah, man,
Hmm.
great stuff. Colleen, thanks so much for hanging out. It's great, always great to hang out with you. And
Hmm.
thanks for all the advice. I
Thanks.
think this was very helpful for a lot of people to do the process, and I think we covered it. So thanks,
Awesome.
my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, real good stuff, Colleen. Thanks so much for being here. Hey, when you're ready to see what it looks like to have a winning team surround you and map out what a winning team looks like and what activities do you do versus what they do, would love to talk to you about that. If you go to freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com, we would love to give you the same resources that Colleen has and hang out with awesome people like Colleen our mastermind group. I just absolutely love it. I've learned so much from this group. And if you'd like to see what that looks like, freedomclubdemo.com. Thanks for everybody. Thanks for watching. And we'll talk to you when you call in, and we'll see you on the next episode of Loan Officer Freedom. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.